So, Ryan, we talked a lot about kind of the defenses, the advancements, where we're at today, where you're seeing kind of we're going right now. Can you summarize what leaders are kind of consistently underestimating today when it comes to AI transformation? I mean, we talked a little bit about it, but more succinctly, I mean, where do we need to look out for, right? Where do we need to basically make sure we're focusing our attention on, or is it something that's broader than that? Like, you know?
I think so. I bringing back up the concept of a threat model. Threat models are eternal, right? Like you should have started with a threat model, and you should always have one. And that's to say that it should always be evaluated for change. So in the same way that you should have evaluated your threat model back in 2000, I don't know, let's say 2010, right? For some of the most basic forms of malware, like the first time anyone ever did some kind of like DLL injection on a Windows
Yeah.
host, right?
Yeah.
Understanding, wait a minute, you mean the operating system that we have on all our endpoints just allows you to swap DLLs out? That's a problem, right? And it's Microsoft, so I can't do anything about it, so I have to work around that.
Yeah.
In the same way, starting in 2022, 23, and going to now, a threat model is the kind of thing that you want to feed AI capabilities, theoretical capabilities into as they come out, right? So having a threat model, having an understanding of what you're actually trying to protect and how you're protecting it, which is not a question a lot of companies can answer when you really throw it at them. They think they know until they have to come up with it, and then they realize that they don't.
Yeah.
Being able to add in an attacker's use of LLMs, or perhaps even worse, your own users' use of LLMs.
Yeah. It's usually 80% of the breaches and hacks are all coming internally, right? So
It's moments like when something like MCP drops, when I am glad I'm no longer on help desk, because
yeah.
I don't want to deal with an LLM that has access to like our accounting executives' drive because they thought it was cool. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't want to deal with that. That is, I guarantee you, no help desk tech is paid enough to deal with that sort of thing.
Yeah. 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 That's
But
tough to
but
be
that's
on
something you
those
have to
front
consider.
lines.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, before it was like, I remember back in like the early 2010s, even before that, there's all this talk about like covert channels and shadow IT, right? What are your users installing and using for their jobs or not for their jobs that you don't even know is there, right? Before, you kind of could just consider that that might be software, right? And that's, I don't know, it's stressful, but it's not nearly as bad as a reasoning model that came from who knows where. Maybe it's Google, which, could be a certain amount of bad. Maybe it's something like DeepSeek, right? That based on its national affiliation could be worse. You
Yeah.
don't know. And
Yeah.
so, I mean, I've always joked that like if I could just snap my fingers and have target users at like a client just install my malware, that would make my
Yeah.
job so much more easy.
Yeah.
It
Maybe
feels
we
like
can
that's what
we could
people,
figure that out, you know?
right. Now it's like, okay, well, what if I mean, I don't know if anyone's done this. It's only because I haven't really looked into it, but there's a part of me that's like, what are the implications of getting someone to deploy a model from Hugging Face that you put up there and artificially boost? It's kind of like malicious GitHub repos, right? Like
Yep.
if someone quote unquote forks a popular security tool and adds a feature and no one reviews the code to find the backdoor, that's a problem. That actually happened on GitHub a few years ago. I forget which tool it was specifically, but someone from GitHub actually reached out to me because I had commented on an issue on a repo for a user that they banned because this person was forking repositories for security tools and pitching them to red teams with new capabilities while having added backdoors, just counting on nobody having looked at the code.
Wow. And I'm
So,
sure he
right,
had some level of success, right?
a lot.
Wow.
Yes. There was a big shift after that. A lot of firms started saying, okay, we're actually going to host all our repos locally. We're not going to use forks. Suddenly, red teams had to have an SDLC, right? And
Yeah.
a secure development lifecycle for anyone who is not familiar with that acronym, which involves just vetting the code that you're running, not just on your machine, but on a client's network, probably, right? So,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
one
Yeah.
thing to bring a backdoor tool onto your own laptop as a red teamer. It's another thing entirely to use that in a client network and then have to tell them, hey, really sorry, we messed up.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you should get fired. You should be
Yeah.
fired for that.
Seriously, so getting real practical, tactical, right? I mean, you talk about SDLC, a lot of these acronyms. There's a lot of buzzwords right now. For all the teams who feel overwhelmed by all the AI noise, how do you prioritize what you build or buy first, right? So there's the threat model, there's making sure you're infusing AI within that. I mean, can you walk us through maybe a little bit on how to get signal out of the noise?
The good news is that you have a lot of control over cutting down the noise. So the whole point of a threat model, the whole point of asking what are we trying to protect is a philosophical razor, right? What can we completely cut out because it doesn't matter? That's your first step. So being able to feed new things into it, like chat, it's 2022 or 23, I don't remember. Chat GPT just dropped, and people are getting it to do crazy things like, obfuscate payload code so that it doesn't get detected by an antivirus product. How do we deal with that, right? Well, you can work backwards from that, right? So you can say, okay, let's take this into our threat model. Let's feed it in and let's see how this works. So one, what antivirus are we using? Two, have we ever tested these obfuscation techniques, right? Because if it's just base 64ing a bunch of strings, like you can figure that out. You can do that yourself. What do we actually have antivirus on? So where does this even matter, right? Does this matter on our servers? Probably not, because there's a disturbing number of people who don't have any defensive protections on their servers. It's usually user endpoints, right? And so, okay, what users could actually be targeted or could actually, based on their permissions, download this malicious code, right? And then suddenly you have a much smaller problem to work with.
Yeah.
Because you don't know the size of the problem when it's just noise, right? The signal helps you figure out the size of the problem. And so this is why I'm so big on the basics. Like, do the basic stuff well, and the hard stuff will be much easier to ingest and process. If you don't do the basic stuff well, you're going to be floating in the ocean.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just get a basic download, right? Like, who are the users? What can they access? What devices are they using? And how are you securing everything along the way, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome. So leadership, we'll get a little bit to kind of that side of things here. So it's unrecognizable from what it was, I think, 5 years ago. Right now, you're guiding teams that really need to use AI, secure AI, innovate with AI all at the same time. So what leadership principles do you think, Ryan, matter most in this new kind of AI era?
Oh, man. I might disappoint you with this one, but I would say that I don't think they've really changed.
Yeah.
I think that, let me start here. So I have a lot of
I
friends.
guess I think I know where you're going with this, right? Okay. But ultimately, like, how do you help them adapt, right? Like, how do you help your customers adapt? How do we drive the outcomes where this is changing, right?
Yeah. I think it starts with identifying what you have to use it for. So if you're a red team company, right? Then are you using LLMs for attack research or aggregating big chunks of data that you're pulling off of posts, right? So you can understand where to go next. If you're a blue team, if you're a DFIR company, then how are you making sure that you are, one, treating your client data responsibly? You're not just letting an LLM loose on it, because that's a bad idea, without proper vetting and understanding of what's going to happen. But if what you're doing is figuring out how to use LLMs in such a way that it keeps you competitive, then I think the first thing to do is not just jump into it. I think it's irresponsible to say LLMs are cool, everybody go find one you like and just start pointing it at stuff. Like, I think from a leadership perspective, the way I would do it is be open but be careful. So I always loved, back when I led a pen testing team, one of the things I loved doing was just listening to the people on my team, because most of the time they were the ones catching wind of new stuff. They were the ones who had the time to sit on Twitter back when it was Twitter, one, and two, when Twitter was a place for new tradecraft and new issues to really break before any news site got a hold of them. If you followed the right people. And so what I liked doing is letting somebody run with an idea. It's countless, the number of times where I had a team member say, hey, this new thing is happening. I think we should add this to our methodology. Even if it was something as small as when server-side request forgery really got popular. Or it could be something as dynamic shifting as LLM use. What I would want is to say, okay, let's evaluate this new capability. Let's see how it can fit into our existing processes, and you're going to champion it. I, as the leader, am not going to stand in the way. I'm not going to be the one who goes and investigates this myself. One, because I don't have time. to I want you to be the expert. I'm all about empowering members of a team. It is the job of a team leader, no matter how many people you have on your team, or no matter how many team leaders comprise your own team. Your job is to empower them, and that means, much to the chagrin, I think, of a lot of middle and upper management, that means trusting them.
Yeah.
And giving them constraints, right? Giving somebody an end state. So I don't know how a member of my team is going to get to the end state. I just know what I think this should probably look like at the end. If for example, if LLMs are going to help us do X and Y, figure out how that works, and then come back and show me. And if it's worth integrating into our processes, we'll do it.
Yeah. No, that makes perfect sense. This has been really powerful, Ryan. Thank you so much. Going into to the new year here, any big goals that you have professionally, personally, what are you looking to do kind of in this next 12 months? And maybe, what are some challenges you see that'll get you, that'll be something you'll have to kind of work through to get you there?
Yeah, so I would say there are two with a secret third, and I'll start with three, which is I'm just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
I got into this as a teenager, and I ruined my grades, and I broke the family computer, and I almost got in some serious trouble because it was fun. This has always been about fun for me. So I would say, starting at number 3, my goal is to have fun. If I'm not having fun, then none of the rest is worth it.
Yeah.
The other two things I'm trying to do, I got my first taste of physical pen testing a couple of years ago, and I have not been able to get rid of that bug. It is so much fun, and
Tell us. Okay, we're running out of time. We're running out of time, but I'd love to hear a story, though. I'm saying, you scaling buildings over here.
Oh no, I wish. No, I need to work out a hell of a lot more before I could do that. So I have a story, and it's really very simple, but it was so meaningful to me, and it comes from my first ever physical pen testing engagement. Something as simple as badge cloning. It's well understood technology. It's a tactic that it's been in TV shows at this point, right? It's been in Mr. Robot, if you're familiar with Mr. Robot. It came out years and years ago.
Yeah.
But it's still relevant. So from my first engagement, we had a setup that a lot of teams have, which is a long-range RF reader. And long-range in terms of RF, access cards, really means 8 to 12 inches. So, but that's a big deal. If you can read a card from that far away, that's a big deal, because that means that you can stand next to somebody.
Correct.
And so I had a reader in a messenger bag on the side of my body, and I was just walking around this building after tailgating somebody in, because when you're in there, you look like you belong. So no one's going to ask questions.
You wear a nice shirt, maybe a blazer. Yeah. No one's going to ask any questions. Yeah, you have a
clipboard, so no one is going to ask you any questions, because you're obviously there for business.
You're important. Yeah.
So I had been walking around all day, and we had it set up so that you could see reads from cards on your phone, because it had a little local Wi-Fi network that you could connect to, and you go to a web page, and it would tell you what the reader is getting. And I was getting nothing, absolutely nothing. And I was getting really discouraged, because I'd been walking around this building for 6 hours, and I was hungry, and I was like, how have I not gotten a single card? I can see them all wearing them. They're on their belt loops. They're on their necks. how have I not caught one of these? And then after riding an elevator for 20 minutes, just up and down, up and down, up and down, I got my first win. And it was this guy who came in, and he was really friendly. Just one of the nicest
Too friendly?
guys
You got real close in the elevator.
Yeah.
So.
Right. He came in, and he just had probably a really great day. He walks into the elevator. He's like, "What's up, man?" He's like, "I don't know this guy." And he's just a really friendly dude who had his badge in the absolute wrong place.
Yeah.
And he stood right next to me and started talking to me about, I don't even remember what, because I got an adrenaline rush from the fact that all his card data just popped up on my phone screen. And
you're like, tell me more.
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. How about them, Atlanta Falcons? Whoa. And so being able to do that and then walk back to my car, clone the badge, and then get into the Target office, just walking in like a regular dude.
Yeah.
It's so simple, but it was from my first engagement, and it was in that moment where I was like, this is fun. Because after that, I got to go open up doors. I got to go, use an under the door tool on a server closet.
It was free reign. Yeah, which is scary, right? Access to everything physically. So
that was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, you were on number two. Sorry, I digressed. I took you off topic, but we were talking about the goals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I'll get to it real quick. So you've given me the perfect segue. So I started Empiric Security last year just as a way for me to do independent contracting.
Yeah.
I needed an LLC, right? And I had a vision behind it because I have a vision for how I've always approached security that hasn't changed, which is that you don't know what you can't test. That's
Yeah.
where the empiric part comes from. And I enjoy technical stuff. I'm a red teamer at heart. I've done it for years and years and years. It's been a lot of fun. But the amount that I care about this transcends that. I care about making actual change. And where I have found that I fit best, I think, is between technical teams who understand the problems better than anyone else. And not just the technical problems, the political problems inside companies. And executives who I think want to understand. There's a gap there that can't be bridged. I'm fortunate enough to have worked heavily with both. When I was at Risk 360, before we had enough pen test work, I was doing CISO work with companies. I was helping them win multi-million-dollar deals by talking about their security programs, not pulling up a terminal and dazzling a client, right?
Yeah.
I was talking about metrics, and I was talking about strategy, and I was talking about compliance. And so if I could do something, if I could take what I have and use it the best way possible, I believe that it is bringing the technical perspective to the executives and the executive perspectives to the technical teams, and being the person who can take those two groups, those disparate groups, and help them figure out how to work together.
Yeah.
And that is going to be the actual game changer for any company. It's not going to be a shiny product. It's not going to be a new initiative to jam AI into every area possible. If it includes AI or an LLM, great. But
Yeah.
but if you can find a targeted way to use that technology instead of just throwing it all over everything, that's where you're going to get the benefit,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
We have to get the benefit out of our tooling. Using it irresponsibly reduces the likelihood that we'll get anything out of it.
Yeah.
And so with Empiric Security, I want to help organizations build security programs that actually work, that can do things like account for new developments like LLMs, in 2025, or DLL injection in 2009, right? It's like
Exactly.
that's the stuff I want to do, and I've worked with a lot of companies. I mean, over 100 at this point over my career, and that is the biggest missing link, is
Yeah.
doing security programs correctly and robustly.
Agreed. It's a culture, right? So becoming the layer, the translator, the mediator, whatever you want to say, in between kind of those, calling the shots, and those practitioners on the front lines kind of, dealing with all the challenges here. So absolutely. I love that. So thank you so much, Ryan. This was awesome. I had a lot of fun. So for listeners that want to follow your work, connect, or learn more, what's the best place to reach you?
You can either go to empiricsecurity.com or ryanbasden.com. Both websites will work. I'm on LinkedIn. If you just search me, Ryan Basden, I'm there. I love talking to people. I really do. So if you can find all of my social links there, whichever ones you prefer. I can't promise that I'm the best at checking them all the time, but I am getting better at that. So if you want to work together, I'd love to talk. If you want to just talk shop, I'd love to talk. I just like people.
Awesome. Thanks, Ryan. Appreciate the time. And to everybody listening, thanks for joining. We will be back with more on the Agentics Security Shift podcast. Thank you very much.
Thank you.